How's it going, good people? This video, I want to build out the checkout form for the e-commerce website that I'm building. I did go in and put some other images in here to kind of vary things and to be able to pull those, but I'll discuss that a little bit more in the video. This video, I want to actually cover how to do checkout and validate the checkout form. My name is Kenny. This is Tech Talk with RHT Services, and let's get started. I am using the form from the Bootstrap template. So I am using, for this particular project, Bootstrap version 4.6.2, and in here there is a checkout template with a index page, CSS, and JavaScript files. So I've styled this obviously to match the website already, in addition to having the items that are in the cart shown. And so when you come, let me go back. So you come to the shopping cart modal, you get the option to check out down here in the lower right. And so when you click that, all of the elements, the nav bar, the footer, all of those things go away so that you get just the checkout. Now you're probably asking, well, why is it done this way? And so I want to show you what is typical on some other sites. So for example, I've come over to eBay to kind of look at how they were doing things. And so you get a listing of your products. This would be equivalent to the shopping cart modal. And then when you go to checkout, and I'm going to continue as guest, the way this page is set up, it is very blank. It does not have all of the navigation or anything else of that nature, and it just shows what you're about to pay for, some fields to enter for shipping and payment, and a summary over here on the right hand side. And you're probably asking, well, why is it like that? Well, if you look at other websites, including like Amazon and so forth, the consensus that I found based upon the research that I did is that when customers get to the checkout page, you want them to focus and continue with the checkout process. Having too many links or images or anything else that's not related to checking out can get them distracted, and then they can go somewhere else on your site. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you get to the point of where their customers about to spend money, you want them to be focused so that they complete the checkout and actually spend that money. And thus why a number of e-commerce sites do blank, checkout pages that are like very skeleton in nature. So I've mimicked this to have a section, and in the JavaScript file, it does turn off the other sections, if you will, or it actually hides them in the JavaScript. However, like I say, the point of this video, though, is to do validation on the checkout form. Now, come with the template, you get this form validation JS, which when you hit continue, it just shows you some text that's built in. It doesn't actually really do much else beyond that. So what I wanted to do was to actually give it a little bit more functionality, and I may even take out these additional divs that are here for the invalid feedback, take those out, and well, dispose of them. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, and I've kind of already started, I have an event listener on the checkout submit, and this actually is going to be a two-part submit. So it's going to locally validate, and then it's going to send it to the backend to validate. And then once the backend validates, the backend will do what it has to do and send a response back, whether that be the additional errors that need to be checked or a link to redirect to the Square payment page. So this video, I'm just going to do the client-side checkout or client-side validation of the form. All right, so I have on the checkout section of the page, and I'm actually come back up here to the top. So I need to name all of the elements here. So actually I have IDs on each of the elements, and I may be able to get them by that. So actually I think I still do need names on them, because when I submit this to the backend, which the backend does use PHP, it doesn't use the IDs to identify each of the fields. It instead uses the name. So I'm going to do name, and name will be the same thing as the ID in this particular case. In some scenarios, yes, they would be different, but for the sake of simplicity, they're the same. And so if you have any comments or questions about any web development related stuff, by all means, drop those down below. I'll be glad to give you an answer on each of those things, because that's what I do as a software developer or programmer, as some people call it. There are many names for the same job, but you get the idea. All right. And so one thing I noticed also is that the Bootstrap template did not come with the city field included. Instead, it has country here. So I'm assuming they intended that you would have some sort of API or something that would provide the city based upon the zip code and the state, and thus they did not include that as a field. However, I want the customer to enter in the field that they are going to be using for this. All right, so now that we have all of the fields that have the corresponding name, what I have done is created an event listener, and I think I'm actually going to change this so that it does something a little bit different. So on the form.submit, and so we're going to check out submit form. I actually had a button there, but I'm going to change this to this. So when we do a submit of the form, and I want to call an anonymous function that I'm going to create here, and I need this with that there. All right, so we're going to do a constant for each of the form elements, and actually let's move that over, move this over, so we can go through here and make sure that we get all of our form elements. Now there are multiple, and I'm probably not going to do the whole form in this video. I'm going to do some of it just so that you get an idea of how to do things. All right, so we have the form, and so if I pass in the event, which I don't think I'm actually going to need to use, but you know, sometimes you never know. Once you start getting in here and start doing stuff, you may actually need to have that item there. All right, so check out submit form dot get by get element by ID, and I'm going with actually that should not be there. First name. All right, and then const last name, and checkout form get ID last name, and then I'm going to also do, let's do city. So const city, checkout form get ID city. Now I'm gonna not do the whole form on video because it'll take longer to do it, but I want you to kind of get the consensus of how to go about doing this. All right, so then we'll do first name. If first name dot value dot trim is equal to, and notice I'm using the triple equals, which is making sure that it is not, in addition to the two values being the same, that it is also of the same type. And if it's not, then this will also throw an error, if you will. So I want to also create an errors array, and I think I can stick this inside of here. So we'll do a let errors is equal to empty array, and the reason I defined it as a empty because of the fact those errors will be there, but in the long run of things, I will be changing this so that they display on the screen. So we won't be using the same type of validation that normally occurs here. There'll be like a single set of element errors that show up at the top of the page that will be then displayed. So let me also declare that as well, because that needs somewhere to go. Errors container is equal to, we'll do checkout form and get element by ID, error, form errors. All right, and so I'll have to come back over here and name that one and go from there. All right, so what I want to do is to add, so if this is not a valid name, then I want to say errors dot push, and then say please enter a valid first name. And then you can also add some additional conditions here to check like the length of the name that was entered, and if that's not long enough, then you can throw a message there for that. So trim, and do the same thing here with the triple equals, errors dot push, please enter a valid last name. All right, and then let's do if city value trim is equal to empty string, errors push, please enter a valid city. And this one, I'm going to, let's see, do that or city.value.length, I believe is what it is less than 3, because I don't know a city that has a name that's shorter than 3 characters. So you can do that for like city. For name, if you were to do it for name, you may just limit it to 2 characters, because some people, I've heard people go by like Joe, so J-O, but in some cases people may have like a first initial that they go by, and so they don't want to put their full first name in there or something of that nature. So you know, you can do this how you need to, but that's just some considerations to keep in mind. All right, so then if we do errors.length is greater than 0, that means we had an error to occur and we need to now display said error. We also need to prevent the form from being submitted. So prevent defaults. And then I think there's another thing that takes place over here, event stop propagation. All right, and so then after that, you want to do errors container dot class list dot remove, and then we'll do actually I have d none defined as a constant in here, so then you'll remove that. We'll do a format on that one real quick, and then errors container dot inner HTML is equal errors dot join, and want to separate those out by commas. All right, and so that is that. And then the other thing I need to do is to add a container here. So I want to add it inside of the form at the very top. So I will do a div class, and we'll do bg danger. I think I may need to do something else. See, bg danger, text danger, DANGR, and then we'll d none, put that there and leave that there. Also give this an ID of form errors. Okay, so that should get everything that we need. I'm going to remove that blank space there for the moment. And if all is good, we'll come back over to our browser, open the dev tools, make sure there are no errors in the console, and that is looking good. All right, so then we'll do checkout. And if I just go ahead and submit this, it should throw some errors. And I'm also getting this error here. So checkout submit form get element by ID is not a function on line 324. All right, so let's go back here. All right, so it's not liking get element by ID checkout submit form. So I did I put that inside of the form? Yeah, form errors, that is a div. Okay, get element by ID. All right, so let's and I may need to do this a little bit differently because I think that so if I put a breakpoint here and then continue. All right, so it's getting my form and I can look at what it is picking up on this form. And so it's only picking up the inputs and selects. All right, so that's a misstep on mine. So what I'm going, on me rather. So what I'm going to do is to change this form element that it is using to get the ID from, and then do a document and get element by ID, because there's only one form error on that page. Now what I probably should actually do is check out form errors, because in the event I create another form on this page and display the errors from that form, it will not be as unique. So this will correct that particular issue there. All right, so save that, refresh the page, and the products load. We'll click checkout and come down here and blindly hit the submit. And now let's see if it finds our errors container after hitting F10, and it does. All right, so we're good on, well, I think it did. Yeah, there it is. All right, so we can remove that breakpoint and continue with the running. All right, and so it is now complaining about that. So what I'm going to do, and that's the Bootstrap default, the Bootstrap form validation coming through. So what I need to do is to actually remove the Bootstrap form validation. So I'm comment that out for now, but before I actually roll this out to production, I will actually be deleting that. All right, so now if I hit continue, this should not, and it is still submitting. Okay, so that is another problem that needs to be addressed. All right, so come back here. We have an event listener and the checkout submit form. All right, so it's the name of this. Yes. So the ID of this is the checkout submit form. All right. And it has an event listener of submit, but it's not stopping. Okay. So I need to, we'll come here. Actually, we'll come back over here. And so we'll put a breakpoint right there and see what happens. So checkout, continue. All right. So it is, all right, so let's step through this, and I'm using F10 on the keyboard in case you're wondering. All right, so this it messed up here where it says it could not find the element, get element by first name. All right, so let's change. Normally you're able to find the form and then you find the elements within the form, but for some reason this is not 100% working. So we'll work through that or work around that. Indicate checkout. All right, there we go. All right, so let's try this one more time. All right, so continue, and then so my form, checkout submit form, so it does have the form control that it did find, so that is correct. Now if we scroll down in here, it may have, no, it does not have those things listed separately. Okay. All right, so we'll do F10. All right, so get element by ID. It found that first name from the checkout submit form. It should find this. All right, and it's saying it can't find that. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to change this out to document and go from there. I know that works, but there is a way that you can look at that and get the child elements there. And maybe I'm using the wrong command to, or wrong method to be able to get that child element of the first name from there. All right, so now if I continue, all right, so if we F10, it should find the element, get element by ID, and it does. Okay, all right, so we'll continue through there. And so now we got into the first one, and this is true because I did not type anything in the first name field. So did not type anything in there and anything in there. So it will stop the default operation, which is to submit the form. And that is not what I was looking forward to. All right, so why is this E default? E is not defined. It's not defined because I called it event instead of E. Oops. All right, so let's continue. And page automatically reloads because I saved. Checkout and scroll down here, continue. All right, so we get to the errors.length. The errors.length is 3. And so it is going to prevent default action, stop propagation. And then it's going to remove the dnone class from the errors container. And then it's going to show the inner HTML, or set the inner HTML to show the errors that were provided. And then that will be it. So if I scroll back up here to the top, I have my text here, which is practically invisible, but I'm highlighting it and now you can see that it is there. All right, so let's go to the Get Bootstrap website. And there is a section in the Get Bootstrap website that you can utilize what they refer to as alerts. All right, so I have and I want to use a danger alert. So what I'm going to do is to copy the classes because I already have the other stuff there. All right, so coming back over here, danger. Okay, so I used the wrong set of classes, but nonetheless, that's what this is about, learning how to correct. Also need to remove that roll over, and then we'll do roll alerts. All right, so now when I come back to my form, so checkout, continue, valid first name, valid last name, enter a valid city. What I want to do now is to set this up so that it lists each of the errors as bullet points. All right, and so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to change this. So PowerPoint bullet errors join. Okay, I don't want to do that. All right, so what I want to do instead, we'll comment that out. So let's do errors container. Come on, let's try this again. Errors container, inner HTML plus equals, and we're going to start this out with a unordered list. All right, and so we'll do errors dot for each e, and then we'll open brackets, and we'll do a errors container dot inner HTML. And actually this one should be clearing out the previous set, so let's set that to equals, and then this one is plus equals, and then want to do a list item or list element. And actually I want to do it with the backticks so that I don't have to or it reduces the way you have to concatenate the strings here. And so $ open brace e dot, well, I guess it's just e here, and then you close that out, semicolon, and then after you do all of those, then do another one of these, but this one will have a closing slash plus and semicolon, save. All right, so now that is there, let's see how that works out when we submit this form. And that's it. You get a bulleted list, and that's what I was looking for. There's a lot of padding on the top, which I will have to correct. And let's see, danger learn. All right, so let's do inspect on this really quickly. And we will inspect that and see, is that padding from, oh wow, it inserted outside. That is not what I was wanting to have happen. So errors for each. I took a moment to kind of scratch my head on that one, and I decided, okay, I probably just need to redo things altogether. So what I'm going to do is to do this. So instead of trying to address that particular issue, what I'm going to do is the inner HTML of this will need a UL, opening, closing in UL, or excuse me, open, closing UL, and then we're going to say this is going to be the ID of checkout, form error container, and then this will be checkout form errors. All right, so now I'm gonna take this container, and the container will get that, and then const error list will be document get element by ID checkout form errors, semicolon, and then so when we come down here, we'll remove that, and then this will become error list dot inner HTML. All right, and so that should address it sticking these list items outside of the unordered list tags. All right, so if we check out, and I'm going to go ahead and close that down. All right, and so now we have that there. Now, oddly enough, the spacing is underneath instead of above, and that could be, let's see. So let's do some inspecting here of these elements, and we have obviously some, looks like some padding underneath. And that may be from the div. Yeah, that looks like that's from the div, which is understandable. However, need to make that kind of size itself up to slim. So we're going to do a PB of, so let's do a PY actually of 2. And that should correct some of that. Let's also do a, on the unordered list, probably also need to do, let's come back over to the actual HTML and correct these here. All right, so we'll do a UL of the unordered, nope, that's the wrong one. Here we go, down here, right here. All right, so we'll do a, after this class, and then we'll do a PY, which stands for the y-axis of 2. And I'll leave that UL there, and then also I want to add a PY of 2 up here. Now that should control that. I may need to do a PY of 0 on the unordered list itself. Okay, and so it's still got some extra spacing here. However, to be honest, can put up with that, or can tolerate the extra spacing, although the OCD in me says, hey, you need to fix that so that it's equal on both top and bottom. But I'm willing to work with that, and also need to add above here, please correct the following errors. All right, and so now if we come back, check out, continue, please correct the following errors, missing punctuation, but that'll suffice. I'll add that in afterwards. And so now we have that there. Now we can still do the highlighting of the fields on the page itself. However, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave the errors up here at the top, and then that way all of the errors are there. Also, when I do the PHP server-side validation, it's going to send back a single object that's going to highlight, and it's easier just to be able to throw all these errors at the top of the page instead of down at each element. One other thing I want to add is to also add a go-to in here if there are errors. So what I want to do is window.location.href, I believe is how you do this, and then I want to do the hashtag or pound sign, and then I want it to the page to jump back up to this particular point. In actuality, I may want to change it to checkout form submit or something like that, but that way if you're down here and you hit submit or continue, that this thing scrolls back up to the top where the errors are. So to be honest, I think it really needs to actually come back. I really want it to come back all the way to the top. And so what I'm going to do is to find the, let's see, checkout. So let's see, there's an item cart. So I'm going to add this as an ID, and we'll do, wait. Section checkout. All right, so checkout section. So I'm going to do this instead. So I already have an ID on this entire section. So what I'm going to do is to replace that with this. And so then if you are down at the bottom of the page somewhere, and let's assume this is a mobile device, all right? And so if you're down here typing, and then you get down here and you hit continue. Now it does take you back to the top. So maybe that's not the one I want to do. I think I actually do want to take it back to the form, or maybe I'll rename this. So let's put that there. Save, it automatically refreshes. Go to the cart, check out. And so in your mobile view, your cart list will be above the form. And so you don't want to necessarily go back to the top of the page. All right, so continue, and so you want to jump back up to where this information is here, and maybe I'll put an actual tag here that says ID shipping. No, let's not do that. All right, so what I'm gonna do here is we'll say shipping errors. All right, and then so we'll update this to that, and then also I need to update the container so that it jumps back to that particular portion. So we had checkout form errors. They're going to call them shipping errors now. Is that correct? No, this is the container. So that goes there, shipping errors. All right, and so click that, check out, scroll down, don't type anything, and boom, it jumps back to the errors on the page. So that way, if there are any errors, as you see here, it will jump straight to those, so you're not down here looking and waiting, hey, this page is not doing anything. It's because you have errors, and those errors are here. Now, this is not what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to clear that out after each time. So good thing I caught that when I caught that. All right, so let's do this. So we'll copy that, and then we'll reset that to be an empty string. All right, and so now when we run this, check out, continue, it only shows the errors once. And so that's something I almost missed, but that's how software development works. You make errors, you correct them, and you go forward. Thank you for checking out this video. If you have not already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. Also, subscribe and follow if you have not done so already. For those of you that have, I thank you for doing so. As always, any questions or comments, leave those down below. If you see anything that I could have done better or differently, I'm also all ears for that. Continue watching the series as there will be more videos. Thank you for watching this video and hope you check out the next one.